Launchy. What? Sorry, what's green?
Green, green is lucky beet.
Oh, I see.
I left the first word letter in case you wanted to try to guess it, but I didn't want to leave that in.
Okay.
You'll have to text me later for the R-rated version. Okay, so just to check in real quick, Monique, you said you needed help. Is that something that one of us can help you with now, later? We have lots of great people on right now. Me, Jen, and Casey.
Doing good now. I think it was just more of a personal help than a work help.
Okay, yeah, definitely had those days. All right, so our essential question is, how do you make engaging learning labs and how do you get scholars there? One of the exciting things for me was, did you notice, Casey, that they touched this on the high school meeting? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm actually really glad Jen's here today because she's always had a very consistent turnout learning labs for years and years and years, so she can share her expertise as well.
Yes, please collect screenshots and share, and please talk, because we all know that you're amazing with your learning labs. We definitely want to hear from you. All right, so hopefully with all of us speaking out, I want to provide supervising teachers with best practices and tips for engaging learning labs, and then also getting the scholars there. So our agenda is, we're just going to go over engaging learning labs. I collected a lot of feedback from y'all. Thank you for filling out the survey. We'll have an opportunity for Padlet for those who want to add to it. Getting scholars to attend, and again, an opportunity to add to Padlet, and then an exit ticket. And if you get these slides off of, do they go to Workplace or just to our guide site? Guide site, right?
Yep, just to the guide site.
If you get access to the slides off the guide site, you can have access to everything I shared, plus the folder right here. If you guys are so willing to take screenshots or actually add real things, that's what we all do. We learn from each other. So I'm going to throw that folder in there. You're welcome to browse it. I put a ton of stuff in there. I'm hoping that you'll put stuff in there. And if putting your name on it makes you feel like not adding stuff, then don't put your name on it. The only reason why I do ask if you're willing to put your name is that so that if someone looks at it and they're like, I want to implement that, who do I talk to? That's why I have the initials at the end. But if you rather not, then I'd rather you share. So I'll just go over some of the stuff that I do for engaging learning labs, and then I'll change over to the Padlet and y'all can add. And if some of you will talk, especially Jen and Monique, I know that I was excited for Monique to share out. But some of the stuff I do is, I had an 80 slam book, so I'll show you a tiny bit of it. So this is my slam book. I put it together at the end of the year to share. Sometimes I don't always make it to it, but let me skip that page just because it was an error. But so I have them sign in, and I forgot to give you this resource though, I'll have to add to it. They sign their name, they pick a color, they pick a font, or they freestyle, and then they'll answer the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so throughout the semester, we get to learn about each other. And so I just think that's kind of a fun way to get them talking. I actually haven't done that since before the 10th grade fiasco, for any of you who know about that. But I did used to do my slam book every week, add questions, learn about each other. Another thing to make it engaging is have scholars work out problems on the whiteboard to give them immediate feedback. And that's one of the reasons why I tell them to attend, so they can get immediate feedback. Also, and here's a little plug, I don't know if you guys heard about the one-pagers that the instructional coaches made, but we made a ton of one-pagers for you. And so I like to use quizzes. Which one of you guys went to the PD in San Diego? Did you see the guy demonstrate quizzes? I fell in love with Q and quizzes from that retreat, or PD, whatever it was called. And one thing, sorry, I have to go there. The guy says that you don't have to prep. I was like, what do you mean you don't have to prep? Because the good thing is I search for already made geometry quizzes based on the subject. I tone it down to 10, and then I have to work out the problems and go search the theorems, but I'm ready for them. And when they get their second try, we have worked through it as a class. So anywho, let me see. I also like to give my scholars choice. Oh, there's this parenting class called Love and Logic. It might even be for teachers too, but I just believe in choice. So here's my little poll. In 1 week, there's usually about 5 lessons. And I actually, a few people think I'm crazy, but I was thinking about it. My master teacher actually taught me, she would work out the problems beforehand and kind of would see where they might get stuck. And I've always liked that. And I can't always do it. And I don't need to do it like for pre-algebra, but for geometry with 150 formulas, I really needed to go through each lesson. So I actually had slides ready for all 5 of the lessons for that week. And it helps me. I'm not telling you guys to do that. I'm just sharing with you and justifying, because some people think I'm crazy, but it helps me teach the lesson better. And it helps me for the Q&A to be able to answer the questions. So there's my little background about choices and Love and Logic. I also like to make a word search, and I tell scholars to come 10 minutes early. So I have this little document in here that'll show you how to make it. Let me see. Sorry, I'm going to make you dizzy. I don't want to show you how to do it. I want you to access it if you're interested, but I just wanted to show you. So I enter my words from the vocabulary and I put it in this little maker, and then I paste it on the board and I let them do the word search. And they get to do that if they come early. So for 10 minutes, I have that. And then, then I try to start right on time. Another thing that I got from the San Diego, and I don't know if it was Q or not, but the infographics. And so I have all the scholars do an infographic. It's the same, but it's just a different concept. So I tell them, plan a slide, find examples of triangles, and then also add a theorem. And so it was really fun. Here we have Isaiah showing us an equilateral triangle and a triangle sum theorem from Samantha G. And the high school people might recognize some of the names. So it's just fun. And they like to put stuff up there. And then the next week, I would at least show one example of, I try to pick different scholars and highlight everybody. And then some of my wish list items are Nearpod and Pear Deck. Anyone who didn't go to that training, I highly recommend you watch that. Any link you're like, I need that link, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to try to find, I lost it, sorry. I'm going to find the Engaging Padlet so that you all can get on there and add stuff. And then I really like it if others would talk about what they do. I don't know if Jen or Monique is willing to go first, but I really want to hear it.
I'm really just laughing because that says enraging scholars through Google tools. So I just thought it was funny because, sometimes we enrage our scholars. So no, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I just thought it was funny. It's the first thing I saw. So I would just say a lot of, the things that you're showing are phenomenal, and the kids love all those extra tools and things. And sometimes it's just like simplicity. I just had things that they looked forward to every time. So I was so cheesy. I was an 8th grade teacher and I wore headbands, but they looked forward to them. So if it was, I still have them. For every month I've got something, and they would be like, where's your headband? And I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. So I'd grab it. And so little things like that they look forward to. And then it would encourage them they'd wear a headband and be like, look at my headband, Mrs. Tatum, I went and got one, or something like that. So, the simpleness of it. I had fun. I tried to make it fun. But without, it was 8th grade. So I couldn't be too cheesy and too little kitty because they were 8th grade. So I had to try to I always tell my son, read the room. So I kind of knew my scholars. I knew that batch of kids was good with whatever, but then maybe the next year they didn't totally dig the headbands, and that's okay. So I'm trying to think of some other cool things. They always love quick, simple, easy, short videos. Engaging them in before Zoom bombing. And if you can get them, now that we have Gmail authentication, that's good, but using the whiteboard and doing fun little polls that aren't so super strict and educational. I know I shouldn't be saying that, but I mean more like, what'd you have for breakfast? Like, I don't know. It's just really giving the scholars a voice, and not just talking at them, and not just clicking through a PowerPoint, and not teaching. I didn't teach out of the curriculum very much at all. English, I kind of had to stick to it, but history, I went way out of the box and taught some cool stuff that they wouldn't have read about in their history curriculum. And so they're still getting their curriculum and they're still reading what they need to read. But then Miss Tatum teaches this cool learning lab about, I still use the Great Chicago Fire as one of my examples. Like, they're like, I've never heard of it. So there's just a lot of things. You know, I have music in the beginning. I let them have a voice, and obviously you have to be careful because, you know, sometimes they'll say things they shouldn't or whatever, but they're learning. So yeah, just, I don't know, listen to your scholars, give them a voice, read the room.
Well, Jen, I wanted you to speak to it because I had the opportunity to observe Jen quite a bit. And I wanted to highlight that she always recognizes her scholars too. And obviously it might not work for high school. They might not like that. So as Jen said, you have to read the room. But she would always recognize their birthdays. She would recognize the people that were there that particular day. So I just want to give a shout out to Monique, Alex, Carrie, Jen, Michelle. You guys are just on my list here. I see first, but always recognize the scholars who are present. And also when we did the RSTs, Rising Scholar tickets, she would say, here are my Arctic scholars this month. So just that recognition piece was really powerful to observe too, because kids kept coming back and they were congratulating each other in the chat too. Like, good job, Jen. Good job, Monique. Nice to see you. You know, it was really a really powerful thing to see, to witness. So just wanted to share that piece too.
Yeah.
Good job,
No, I
Jen.
forgot about that. I always did birthdays. I did if they were there, and some kids like it and some kids don't like it, but they don't not like it enough to where they don't come back. They just like may not say anything in the chat box. And I try not to put too much of a spotlight on kids, but even if all their names are on the list for October birthdays, there's more than one of them. So it's not like this huge thing. But yeah, just celebrating them just for being them. Like, and they may be in a situation at home where like nobody celebrates them, or, you know, like the littlest things. And then my last thing I would say, and I think Monique does this too, and I think it's a really wonderful touch, and this is not with learning labs, but sending a personal letter in the mail. Not even a letter. I shouldn't say letter. I bought a set of welcome cards when I got all my homeroom kids last year. And I just said, welcome to my class. I'm so excited to have you. That card might be the only card they'll get all year from somebody that says that I'm glad you're here and I'm glad that you're in my class, because they don't write cards anymore. So personal touches like that are huge too. So anyways, that's all.
Great.
Can't find my mute button. I love all that. Were you willing to talk to Monique?
Yeah, sure. I coming from a background of a positive discipline school, they definitely really looked at like restorative circles and building that community right off the bat. And one of the things that I loved from that school was creating agreements and having the kids create the agreements in the classroom, not like top down, here's what, you know, lab looks like. The kids create it. And what kind of environment they want in that lab. I kind of have them create a word bubble in the beginning on what kind of environment they want to have in that lab. And just like one word ideas, whether it's like or quiet or loud or safe or games. And then moving on to there into the agreements and what agreements are for. And it's to create that safe environment, because you can't have a fun, you know, learning lab, or you can't have games unless you have a safe environment. So what does that look like to them? And a lot of the time that respect comes in, that kindness comes in, but not only having that respect, but what does respect mean to them? Because it might look different in different homes. So they come up with ideas and I write them down, and they build their lab from there. But yeah, lots of fun and games, gamifying things, choice, all of that in labs really brings them in.
By chance, did that come from Teach To? No, okay.
No, I don't remember the program, but we definitely had to do a whole year of learning how to do positive discipline, no reward, no punishment policy, and going from there.
And then the agreements, are those documents that you all sign? Is it different? Is it just,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep. At the end, I create a whole entire like beautiful visual of what they wanted, and then they all sign it. They come in and sign it.
Aw, so
And they're
like
the ones who
posters,
keep on tabs on everyone.
right,
And it takes the pressure off me.
right. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so when I was in brick and mortar, I followed the Teach Tos. Has anyone heard that? I kind of like it. We would make a big poster and whatever we needed to work on, like getting in your seat on time or something. And we would say, it's not quite what you're doing because well, anyways, I'm not sure. But we would talk, the kids would tell me, what should we do? What shouldn't we do? And almost, but not quite, because I love that because kids always push the buttons. We would make these posters and everyone would help create them. And then I would put them all over my room. Totally reminds me of Teach Tos. Awesome. Does anyone else want to share before we talk about how to get scholars there? And I think only one person added. Make sure you add if you get a chance. I'm glad I added them front loaded because not everyone who had good ideas were able to make it today. Okay, so getting there, and let me see if I can find the Padlet for you. So getting there, one thing I have done and not done, depending, with new curriculum and new systems, I don't always do everything that I want to do. So I do, and then I take off my plate and then I bring it back. But I really liked doing the Google Calendar invites, which the high school talked a lot about today. Just make sure you hide that invite list. I know the emails are obvious, but we did have a troller and a scholar who was kind of bothering people. And so you just don't want to be the person to give them the email addresses. I would email, and a lot of people said this, I think, here and on the survey, but email them the day before, an hour before. I would also send you or missed emails, and I would CC the parents so that you're like, hey, the scholar is not coming to geometry. And thank you. And I would include the recordings, and I would include the documents that I made, because I would always made a document with all the vocabulary words and formulas and whatnot, so that it was kind of showing them how they should take notes and providing a resource, especially for IEPs and 504s and ELLs. It was just, I just really enjoyed the document, and I was like, this is great, use this on your test. But anywho, I don't know how you guys feel about this, because I don't know, but a lot of high schoolers, and I know you guys are all different ages, but some of them just won't, right? So I gave a 1/4 point extra credit for anything they did. So did they show up? They got a 1/4 extra credit. So with the quizzes, I had them play the game, and those winners would get a 1/4 point. And then if the whole class beat the whole class average, I would give them another 1/4 point. So I was kind of throwing them around, but it was just a 1/4 point. It really didn't add up to too much. The max was 2, and I gave 10 points for my learning labs. And the weekly points in the grade book. I'm not going to show it to you, but I did show how I really liked it. I had my learning lab table on a document inserted into the lessons, so that they're going through the lessons, they would see the learning lab document and they would see it in the grade book. And I gave points every week, because then they saw the points drop or raise. I personally don't like waiting to the end of the semester. I know that's kind of, I think, how we're kind of supposed to do it, but you wait to the end of the semester, I felt like you're just dropping grades. I needed them to see it. I needed the parents to see it. I needed everyone to see it. Like, you didn't go last week, you got a 0. You went this week, you got a 10. You were live, you got 11. So those are the things that I did to get them there. Does anybody know what David Spink used? He would text scholars, and I know high schoolers really like that. But if you guys would get on the mic and talk about what you do to get them there.
So Michelle, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I give points to I give a lab participation points, and it's kind of like an assignment, so they get like points for that. What we did this year is actually Kim Noller gave me the idea. So I just put the assignment in after the lab, so it doesn't pop up on the calendar until after, but we had everything in the content domain. So she had a great idea to hide it until after the lab, because then it'll pop up and it confuses them. But that's how I add my points. And that's what I think middle school is doing. But in terms of getting them there, like exciting things, I did the spin the wheel. So I basically just literally copied and pasted the whole 7th grade or whatever, 6th grade, whoever was in the class. I copied and pasted it onto the spin the wheel game. And then at the end, I was like, okay, if you're here, you know, whoever's here, I'm going to spin the wheel and give out 2 Arctic tickets to, you know, whoever the wheel lands on. And so they had to stay till the end of the lab, because if they weren't there when I called their name, then they didn't get their Arctic ticket. So, and then also another thing I did was if they had 50% participation, I gave them a lab party for the end of the month. So they had like at the end of class, like the last 10 minutes or so class, they got to talk or play a Kahoot or listen to music. So, but they had to get to that 50% participation. And actually we surpassed that last year, but those are my incentives.
Yeah, those are awesome. Who else? Jen, I know, Jen, you're just you, but did you do anything else to get them there besides being you?
Extra credit. 8th graders are always like, like their ears perk up. Not that I offered it every time, but, and it looks different every time. So it could be, hey, if you just attend this learning lab and you're there from the beginning to the end, because sometimes you just can't even get kids to go. I would see like these kids from the weeds come in just for those 5 points of extra credit. And I'm like, hey, Johnny, I haven't seen you like all year. So it could just be something simple like that. Or I would say, hey, in today's learning lab, there will be an extra credit opportunity. So we may watch a 2-minute video at the end, and there might be like 5 questions that you have to email to me by, 2:30 p.m. today, and you will get extra credit. So getting them to the learning lab to stay long enough to see the extra credit opportunity at the end, got them there too. I would sometimes just tell them what it's going to be about, or not tell them what it's going to be about. Hey, the learning lab's a surprise today, but you definitely want to be there. There are kids at this age, and last year when I had 8th graders, I had an 8th grade son. And so I kind of knew what made their ears perk, and kind of what, like, I call it, give them a carrot, incentivize, right? Hang a carrot in front of them and motivate them a little, because some kids just don't even want to come. But those are just a couple of the things. In middle school, we're really trying to push this year. They're all lost with the links. We're really trying to push Google Calendars, and we're really trying to get them to sync their calendars with our current calendars. And then Elaine, we've been talking in high school, like maybe the next step for high school is show them how to do an event in there and then repeat it, and then show them how to give themselves notifications. Like, this is the way of the world, and they're I'm sure they know, but yeah, incentivize, extra credit, something cool, a cool video, whatever. But listen to them, give them the opportunity to give, or maybe you could even say, listen to your scholars and say, hey, next week's lesson's going to be this. Give me some ideas. What do you want to see? What do you want to see in your learning lab? So maybe incentivize it that way.
Just speaking from a tutoring standpoint, a few years ago, when we really wanted our scholars to come to the sessions for math and reading, and those are the scholars that needed the most support. So we're like, come on. But of course, they were the scholars that were MIA. So we had to be very strategic and also creative on how to incentivize our scholars to join tutoring. And we actually did fun PBIS rewards. So for example, if we had, and this was like the big ticket item, if we had a 10% increase in the month of May, then Mrs. Wingate would get pied in the face. If we had 10 new scholars join, Mrs. Mayer would talk in a British accent, and she would take a shot of vinegar. So kids love like dares, when teachers are dared to do something, or if there's like a big reward at the end, like the pie in the face, like they just gravitate towards that. So I remember in like a brick and mortar, one of my teachers shaved his head because we all passed the final. So like we all studied our butts off so that we would see this guy shave his head on the last day of school. So just things like that. The dares really, really worked for our program at least. Yeah, I know, Jen, I remember that. It was hilarious.
You know what though? You know how many kids logged into that learning lab to watch me get a pie in my face? So it was good. A couple years ago, it was fun.
Oh my gosh, my screen doesn't show everybody. Erica, I didn't know you were here. Can you tell us about your themes?
Not quite a place to talk. I'm here to listen. So I'm not sure if I'm able to share at this moment. Sorry.
That's okay. Let me just go back and read it real quick. I'll never find it right now, will I? I wanted to hear more about it, but I just appreciate being here. So no worries. Anyways, she was saying something about themes. There it is. That's you, I think. Try to gamify the lesson, i.e. have one that is Harry Potter theme with the sorting hat, Chutes and Ladders, Among Us, etc. Plus I use a spin wheel for selecting roles within groups. So that's really cool. Yeah, okay, so we only have 2 more minutes and I love what everyone is sharing. Did anybody else have anything that, wow, I can't talk today. Did anybody else have anything else they want to share today?
Real quick, I wrote there one of the activities I use for engaging students, scholars, is when I'm writing when I teach in a writing class or something like that, create relevant topics on writing exercises, like topics that are relevant to them, either like world news or cultural things that will speak to their culture and will make them feel proud to share their cultural background, or anything that is relevant to them. I think that's a good one, that have proven a good engaging activity.
And this is Andrea. I can add a little bit. I mean, there's some great ideas. Hey, and I'm driving, so I apologize. I can't say a lot, but I noticed even in middle school when I would like customize my slide deck with something that was, current for them and what they liked. When Among Us was really popular last year, a lot of times you don't even have to create it from scratch. A lot of teachers share online, but I took the slide deck that was, the Among Us theme, and I plugged it in, for everything ELA. And just because it was relatable and it attracted, that they were super excited because it had that theme, engagement was up. I mean, I even had a couple emails from parents of scholars that don't normally say anything, like, well, I don't know what it was today, but that was so great and they can't wait for the next class. So just anything we can do to make it something relatable for them, and their level and their interest, I agree that totally boosts their engagement.
Awesome. Okay, let me get the exit ticket out for those who need to go. Sorry, I made you a page. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish. Not finish. You can fill that out for me. It helps me know what to do better, what to do next time. I am reading through all that. I'm creating stuff as more people request stuff. So there's a few one-off things that I haven't been able to get to or figure out yet, but just know that I am working on it. Thank you everyone for attending, especially this late in the day. You guys are awesome.
Thanks everybody for being here. And yeah, as Michelle said, I know this time's not ideal, but unfortunately this is the only consistent time we could do with the early release days, and we have to do it on Wednesdays. So thanks for being understanding, and we promise to get you right out here right at 4:30. Obviously we're a little over time today, but moving forward, try to be right on time so we can get going at 4:30. Take care everybody. Thank you so much.